Hello, this is Patrick from Ground to Dust with a new video today. I wanted to do a video about time correction in guitar recordings, and I filmed one previously, but when I went to edit it, realized I'd sort of missed the point a bit, I think. So I'm back to try again. Thankfully, I just received a new recording today of a guitar part, so I have something to work through and actually problem solve as I go. So let's listen to the existing guitar part as it currently is. Okay, there are two guitar channels that are then going to a single group. The group just has a low-end roll-off EQ. Each of the guitar channels is going to a separate guitar rig instance. That means that we functionally got two full guitar layers being performed together and mixed down to a single wide stereo track. The guitars are all recorded clean and then processed to distortion, meaning that if we take our distortion off, they sound like this. And right now they are spread pretty widely apart. So what am I going to do and why am I going to do it? Okay, I'm going to take the guitar recording and move the performance to be more in line with the actual click of the track. Some of this is very much a real shifting of where the note occurs to where it's supposed to occur musically speaking. But also some of it is, say, more more mental. I guess I would describe it as having more to do with how we hear and interpret music. So, for example, if we consider this as the note that is being played, yes, technically, the pick hitting the string occurs actually ahead of the beat. But the part of it that we hear and recognize as being the note occurs after the beat. So I would be moving the note to technically start before the beat, but actually be interpretable as happening on the beat. And I do this partially just because I can be sort of compulsive about it, but also these minute differences in timing of the piece can sound fine. Like we could put this guitar track in the song as it is, and I don't think anybody would notice or care. And a lot of it is just sort of in my own head. But the more in sync these parts are with not only the rest of the music, but with each other, the more locked together it can feel. So that is sort of what I'm attempting to add to the music just by tightening it up. This is not a knock against the performer at all. This your results may vary. You may not want to go through this. I'm not saying you need to or should, but this is something I do with not only every guitar take I use, but every audio recording I use, including vocals. And I'll cover vocal timing correction in another video. I'm going to be doing this in Ableton. I know Cubase has the capacity to do this. I'm assuming pretty much every DAW at this point does, but the actual methodology may differ. So first, for Cubase, you of course want everything to be warped, but you're going to want to switch to Complex Pro. Otherwise, your results will not sound good. Now, Ableton will have already automatically hit detected some things. That can be a good place to start, but I don't really trust it. They also don't tag the end. So let's find our sort of final zero crossing. It's about there. Yep. So we'll put that on the end. Whenever I time correct something, before you start really doing too much in the way of moving pieces around in the middle or quantizing things or anything like that, or even like readjusting the markers, I like to go through and activate each 1 to 2 bars or starting of a phrase or whatever, because when you move pieces in the middle, it moves the pieces around it unless they're locked down. So if you lock down pieces on a regular basis, it will keep things on one side of it relatively stable, even if you're going and moving pieces on the other side of it, so that you don't, say, move an early note and then throw off the rest of your song to be out of time. So now that I've got things sort of moved into place, at least initially, I've set the end, I've set the beginning. Now I've set the beginning, got my middle lined up, and in this case we're doing just eighth notes and some 16th notes, so it's pretty easy to get things lined up, but I'm doing this aware that where these markers fall in the waveform are not actually where I want to be quantizing. So that's the first part. Now it's a matter of going through and fixing each of these to fall roughly where I want it to. So basically what I'm doing, at least for this sort of sound shape, is putting the quiet part of the muted guitar pluck, the palm muted part, before the actual beat, and all of the high amplitude content immediately after the beat. So on one hand, yes, as on paper, it makes it look like the guitarist is rushing a bit, but the part of it that you're really going to hear is on time. Now this is okay, so since we have two copies of this loop here, let's just A-B them together. So with no time correction, that sounds like this. And with time correction, that sounds like this. Very minuscule, very minor. There is some difference there. Of the two, I'm going to just, by definition, prefer the one that is on the beat rather than the one that drifts around the beat. Okay, so at this point, I've gone through both tracks, time corrected everything, gotten it in sync. There are a few places in this longer part where there's some unique artifacts in the performance that if I was really being a stickler about it, I could go through and take other bits of the performance and comp them in to have a more consistent performance. But in this particular instance, I don't think that's really a worthwhile pursuit. Not only do the two pieces really glue themselves together better now, and so those minor inconsistencies aren't as apparent, but in the scope of the entire track with all the other layers going on, it's not really going to stand out and be an issue. In a different song where the guitar is perhaps playing a different role or being just by itself, I might bother to do that. The other thing to keep in mind is that any time correction you do and any editing you do, you want to do before any effects processing. If you do the editing after the effects processing, any changes to timing, to pitch, it will be more apparent, more sound artifacts will present themselves. Whereas if you do all that correction first and then process it, the processing will actually help hide inconsistencies, changes, artifacts, etc. So, sort of my rule of thumb is whichever one of your senses is telling you that something is wrong, trust that sense. If the computer is telling you it's right, but it sounds wrong, trust your ears. If your ears are telling you it sounds right, but your eyes are telling you, hey, that's not lined up right, trust your eyes. If your eyes tell you it looks good, but you're just feeling it's off, trust that feeling. It's better to find what's wrong and fix it and then feel better about it than to trust that, yeah, I'm sure that's fine, and then you or someone else later be able to pick up on that. Yeah, well, it looks right, but it sounds wrong. It sounds right, but it feels off. So yeah, that's how I fix guitar timing and correction. I will do it as much as I can in everything I do, but it may not be for you. And use at your discretion. All right, later.